in any Arab League meetings. And I remember that on Monday night, the Libyan ambassador to the Arab League, in fact, quit his post in protest to what was happening in the country and in protest to the use of force by the Libyan regime on the people of Libya. So it seems very much that that move was somewhat symbolic, although we understand that the representatives of Libya will not be able to participate from here on the Arab League or any of its meetings. Now, that has not been seen as a strong statement here in Egypt and beyond. We've heard messages from opposition figures in Egypt saying that that was a weak statement. Of course, the members of the Arab League are in fact in a difficult position, although they can be unanimous in their condemnation of the violence. When it comes to talking about uprisings, well, Yemen, Morocco, Algeria, Bahrain, all of these are members of the Arab League, and they're also experiencing their own uprisings, or at least the start of uprisings in their own country. So it was always going to be a tricky situation for them to issue a statement about the legitimate right of people in the Arab world and beyond to topple their government and to express their want for change.
Well, outrage has now been expressed in the capitals of the world's most powerful countries, but not much has been done in the way of concrete action. And Barnaby Phillips has been looking at why all those strong words are not translating into deeds.
Another day of protests in London, but does Muammar Gaddafi hear what the world is saying?
This is unacceptable.
We need to see the violence stop.
We are extremely concerned with events.
This must stop immediately.
Condemned very clearly the repression that is ongoing.
To express our absolute condemnation.
Condemn it utterly.
And now America has joined the chorus.
The United States continues to watch the situation in Libya with alarm. Our thoughts and prayers are with those whose lives have been lost and their loved ones, and we join the international community in strongly condemning the violence, as we've received reports of hundreds killed and many more injured.
Well, you can see how passionate the crowds are here outside Downing Street, but for all the frustration we're seeing here, it also seems that governments outside Libya have a very limited ability to actually influence events on the ground in that country now.
Of course, oil and gas give Gaddafi leverage, but that's not the only reason foreign leaders struggle to put pressure on him.
Gaddafi is and has always been a maverick. It's difficult to predict what he wants, how he's going to go about things. He's therefore very difficult to interact with, have a rapport with, even for his own people who live in fear of crossing him. And on the outside, the relationship is complicated by the fact that on the outside, people usually want something from him just as much as he may from them.
The Arab League has banned Libya from its meetings, a gesture, but one unlikely to affect the situation on the ground. And then there's the African Union, which has said nothing. Perhaps because some African leaders have benefited from Gaddafi's financial resources, whilst others may even be afraid of him.
He's also explicitly, we know, funded at least 10 rebellions in Africa, including some extremely nasty people like Charles Taylor in Liberia, Foday Sankoh in Sierra Leone. And so other African leaders who've been on the receiving end of rebels supported by Gaddafi are very, very scared of him and wary of him.
So he's the maverick who leads the outside world a merry dance. And now his people suffer the consequences. Barnaby Phillips, AlJazeera, London.
Well, Tunisians living in Libya have been returning to their country. The two North African countries share a 500-kilometer border, and about 50,000 Tunisians work in Libya, and many of them are now making a swift exit. Well, Nazanin Moshiri is at Ras Ajdir, that's on the Tunisian side of the border with Libya.
There's a steady trickle of Tunisians coming across the border, as you can see behind me. This is about as close as we can get. We're just about 100 meters away from the Libyan side. We're 160 kilometers away from the Libyan capital, Tripoli. Now, what people are telling us is that on the other side of the border, there is a heavy security presence of police and army stopping and checking people going through their luggage, taking away their phones, taking away their money.
Give me the money, or you can return back to Tripoli. You
Do
give
you
me
think
the money, or you return back to Tunisia, to Tripoli.
Is it dangerous now for Tunisians in Libya?
It is very dangerous for Tunisians now.
Why?
Because Saif Ma'amun Gaddafi said to the people that the Tunisian and the Egyptian did the problems in Libya.
After all, Libya is burning now.
Libya is burning.
Yeah.
Where is it burning? Where is it? Tell us what's happening.
All Libya, all Libya.
Just tell us
Misrata, Benghazi, Tripoli, all.
There is an increased military presence here. We have been told by the Tunisians they are sending in extra units. There is still a state of emergency here in Tunisia. The army very much in control of security. They are taking this situation seriously, but we haven't seen that many Libyans coming across the border. We understand that it might have something to do with the fact that the Libyans themselves on the other side are not allowing Libyans to come across. So far, the focus here on the border is very much on getting as many Tunisians out as possible. We understand 2 planes will be heading into Libya at some point to take the thousands of Tunisians stuck there right now.
Ian Hurd is an associate professor of political science at the Northwestern University and joins us now live from Princeton in New Jersey. Thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. We heard Colonel Muammar Gaddafi speak earlier on Tuesday evening, digging his heels in, saying he's not going anywhere. Where is the situation headed?
Well, I think that that speech really helped galvanize the United Nations Security Council into action. And it just released its statement, a presidential statement on the subject, which was really quite strong by the standards of the Security Council. So it hasn't yet motivated the Council into action, but the Council is now another player in the large constellation of international actors pushing against Gaddafi.
At what point will we see action from the United Nations? I mean, the statement expressed concern and so on and so forth, but when is the time to take concrete action?
Well, I would hope to see, if nothing changes after another day, another round of Security Council deliberations that leads to a resolution that would declare that the situation constitutes a threat to international peace and security. That's the technical language of the Charter that enables the Council to act. And then the Council could demand things of Libya and of other countries, including freezing assets abroad, perhaps a no-fly zone, certainly gathering evidence for a referral to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. I think that could come. Hopefully it would come in short order if the situation hasn't improved by tomorrow.
Ian, you speak of freezing assets abroad. I'm curious to know if you have any information on Gaddafi himself and his assets and how much he's worth and where his money is.
I don't, and I'm sure that that's mysterious to even the most informed experts. But what the UN could do, that no other body could do, is demand that the member nations of the UN investigate their financial systems and freeze any assets relating to Gaddafi or his family